pitch. A pre-Thanksgiving Hoops Cap with myself and T. Baker. We're going to recap the women's basketball week and look to the future. Phenomenal game against Michigan. We're going to talk about that right now on the Hoops Cap.
Let's get it. Let's get it. Let's get it. Let's get it. Yeah. UConn, baby. Home of the champions. Let's go.
All right. Welcome into Big East Energy Network and the Hoops Cap. I am your host, Mark Zanetto, as always. And with me on Friday, little earlier edition of our Friday show with T. Baker here. This is kind of like an all-encompassing podcast for the week. So let's go back in time and talk about the Michigan game. And what was your initial thought with that kind of just dynamite jumping out to 21 point lead, and then the initial thought when it almost all slipped away?
Yeah, good question. I, was at that game covering it at Mohegan Sun, and the way that UConn started, I think, was just really overwhelming for Michigan. And, let's call it what it is. It was a home game for UConn. It was a neutral court, but a lot of UConn fans. And I think, honestly, Michigan's a young team. They just came out a little overwhelmed, I think, is what happened. And UConn just took advantage of it and just built that padding in the first quarter. But I had a sense that, Michigan would kind of get their feet, and they did. They more leveled it out in the second quarter. And then we saw in the third quarter, they held UConn to 4 points, which was something I don't remember ever seeing, to be honest with you. So I need to actually dig on that. But the way that they were just kind of taken out of their rhythm when Michigan switched to that zone, I think that's what really shifted it. And that's a smart move by Michigan head coach Kim Barnes-Arico. And for those, old heads, she used to coach at St. John's. They upset UConn in 2012 after one of those long winning streaks. And someone
like 99 games, something crazy like that.
So she has experience upsetting UConn, and she said post game, we almost had him, we just ran out of time. And the way that Silas Swords was shooting, I can't disagree with her. She was just not.
And also, you could tell the team was kind of like, all right, there's not that much time left in this game. It felt like they were trying to run the clock out versus kind of just playing to get through the game. And sometimes, listen, that's always a recipe for disaster. I could start to see it.
It's the playing not to lose instead of to win, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
1,000%. I told you this story pre-show, but my only stress of that game was because we talked pre-show about if they lose this game, it's not the end of the world. If anything, it could have helped them versus kind of just like the invincibility of UConn, right? But during that game, we've talked about how it's very difficult to find betting lines for women's basketball. And I'm going to put it up on the screen. We have a Discord that if you join, that people are, talk about betting and different things on the men's side. And we have a professional handicapper that you can literally pay $20 a month for his picks. And he's very good, 80%. It's nuts. So I sent him a text and said, hey, you rarely get a spread this low with the UConn women if you want to look into it. And so I think I said under 20 points, no matter who they're playing. And he didn't respond. And so when they went up by 22 points, I was like, I'm so smart. Look at me. Betting guru. Yeah. And then as that 18-4 run happened in the third quarter, I was like, I hope he didn't bet what he normally bets on games. And so he ended up being at dinner, didn't see my text until late, and saw the score and laughed, and then said, hey, good call. LOL. So that was my only thing. I was more concerned about, because to your point, if they lose that game, does it matter? No.
I mean, for me, it's one of those good losses. We talk about good losses, bad losses. This is technically on a neutral court, so it hurts their chances less than a home court, even though they had a home court advantage pretty much. Michigan is a team that was top 10. So I think that, there was a level of okay, we're beatable after that game that they needed. But because if Azzi Fudd didn't shoot her last 3 threes and make them, Michigan won that game.
Lose that game. Yeah.
I think that was an important obstacle for them to overcome, and some mistakes they made down the stretch that were uncharacteristic. I think one point that was made by head coach Gino Auriemma was just that like Sarah Strong shouldn't play 40 minutes because at the end she was fatigued. She was throwing away passes. You never see her do that, but she's, hustling for 40 minutes and having to do so many things. She had 20 rebounds. And that to me also pointed out a vulnerability of like, why is she getting that many rebounds when we have Sarah Williams down low? And that's an area of growth that I saw from this game is like, we got a big that needs to rebound, because Sarah's trying to play more that like point forward perimeter role in transition. And I think that for me, I need to see some of that growth from Sarah Williams as taking a bigger share of those rebounds.
Do you think that there's opportunity for maybe this is a question for Dino, for Jana to step in and kind of take that role back from Sarah as the year goes on?
It's tough to say. I mean, it's tough to understand exactly what the trajectory is with Jana. Like she had 4 minutes against Michigan. Like she didn't play a whole lot. And it's when she went in, she wasn't tremendously effective, had some turnovers. Like I think that with Jana, like in last year, she kind of played through some of those mistakes of like, she had some sloppiness, but she was kind of the only option outside of Ice who was sometimes injured, so I don't know if she has the same level of like play through it this year, given that Sarah Williams is an option. So I don't know. I want to see that from Jana. Like I want to see that competitiveness between the two of them. But what I think is going to happen is that just Jana's minutes are going to be significantly less this season.
Yeah, we kind of always thought that once they picked up Sarah Williams. But I think the biggest issue is you kind of thought that you would at least get something out of Jana because just to talk about Sarah Strong and her minutes, you also don't want to burn out Sarah Williams. Like the whole, it goes back to the question I asked Gino about, do we have too many players? And he basically was like, really don't. Like it kind of makes you wonder, like, when you look at the team as talented as they are, it's like how many people actually affect the winning and how many people actually affect the on-court that we see, because you're not getting a ton of minutes from Ice. She barely plays. Gandy isn't playing because I'm talking about the bigs now. Gandy isn't playing because she's a project, a freshman, and you have Sarah who's a senior. So it's kind of like where do you go? So there is that vulnerability, and so I may have to take back some of the comments that I've made earlier in the year about how this team is unbeatable, because we obviously saw that they're definitely beatable. And I'm sure people will have a field day with me on YouTube and say, see, I told you they could lose. Okay.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's like, I didn't expect Jana to not play as much as she is. And I really didn't expect this team to kind of go back to the old Gino of like, all right, our best players are playing 35, 40 minutes. That's the interesting part.
That's the interesting part. We'll see how that plays out over the course of the season. But I asked exactly that question to Coach Auriemma after that Ohio State win, where we did see a lot of bench production of like, you're managing all this talent. Are there any challenges with that? And he's like, really, we play 40-minute games and, now they have 15 players, most in program history. Gino's rotation doesn't typically go much larger than 8 or 9. And
right.
That is because there's a specific system at UConn. Everyone has a role. Like that is how they've found the success. So I think the challenge that I'm trying to work through and just understand about this team is like, what is everyone's role going to be? Like, is it going to be that, Kaylee Heckel is, 15-minute off the bench, kind of like KK Arnold was last season? Who's the other offensive weapon? Is it going to be Blanca? Is it going to be Allie Ziebell? Who's going to step into those various roles? And I think right now we're not quite sure who that is because we haven't seen it with a level of consistency. And we're only 6 games in. So in fairness, it's not a lot of time to see that yet. But those are the pieces that are going to begin to solidify. And as the season progresses, I think the minute spread is going to be a lot tighter.
Yeah, no, what I was going to say is like, I think I have one specific person I'm thinking about who always goes, why don't you talk about Allie Ziebell? Well, I'm talking about her, and so is T, because she's shown some really good, minutes and flashes. I think she can be a player that, can spell Ashlynn, can spell some of the wings. But it's really about Blanca. Blanca is the next best player. Once Sarah graduates, she's going to have that kind of the throne passed to her, right? I think to me, Blanca is such an untapped talent and resource as time goes on. She's only going to get better and better. You're seeing a few less turnovers. You're seeing a few less, to use a Gino term, you're seeing her have a little less agita when she has the ball. And so I think that's only going to get better as time goes on. So like we're seeing the vulnerabilities, let's say, like where the bigs aren't maybe as strong as we thought at the beginning of the year. The wings and the guards, I feel like, are better than we even could have imagined with the addition of Blanca and AZ playing like super AZ.
Yeah, I think I agree with that. I think like one area of concern I have early season as it relates to the guards is just like Ashlynn Shade isn't scoring at the rate I think she
Yeah.
needs to. Like she's very cold from behind three, and like shooters need to keep shooting through those slumps. Like I'm not suggesting that, this isn't going to change and she'll get back to it, but it's also like some careless turnovers, like the end of that Michigan game. Like she threw the ball when she could have held it. Like it's little mistakes like that I think as a junior you gotta kind of be better than that. And it speaks a little bit to like, I don't know, it's a little bit of shakiness we're seeing her as she returns to that starting position that she had as a freshman, with some more pressure and with some more expectation on her. So that's the piece that, in outside of that, like she's a tough defender. Like she does so many other good things on the floor. So she earns her minutes, but they do need that additional scoring production, and it's not coming from her. And it's not necessarily going to come from KK at the level they need it from. Like we saw her have some really important minutes. She shot that big three at the end of the Michigan game. That was just gutsy right in front of the UConn bench. So they left her wide open to shoot it. They dared her to, and she did, and she delivered.
Mm-hmm.
But they left her open because she's not typically shooting from there and making it. So some of those little offensive pieces, like minor concerns that have arisen, because when you have Azzi Fudd and Sarah Strong at the end of the day, they handle their business. And that's what we saw in that game.
I totally agree. And AZ is proving a former guest of mine that, to his credit, Kevin Clancy did his little due diligence about top 50 players against top 50 opponents, and AZ landed around 39th, which was hilariously panned by UConn fans. Some in a very vicious way, some in a pretty funny way, and some actually in a like you're crazy way. And he explained his position. To his credit, he did donate $40, $39 and change to the Connecticut Boys and Girls Club on her behalf. So that was really cool gesture. So we appreciate him for that. But I think she's showing that, like, come on, bro. Like that was a ridiculous number, and it's not his fault. It's more just analytics, and that she's whole now, and she's become a full service guard that she was advertised when she came in to UConn before all the injuries. And she's just a joy to watch. Like her ability to get off shots quickly, even off the bounce right now, are making her essentially the odds-on pick to be the number one pick in the draft and go play with Paige.
Yeah, I mean that's a piece that I did see some of those projections, and it did surprise me a little that she shot up to number one, just when you consider the rest of the field. And it's not a dig against her, but it's like it really depends on what your team is looking for in that role. Like, so I'm curious if that's what they're looking for as another guard. Like there's a question about Arike and if she's going to be on Dallas anymore. So that's a spot that AZ could slot into. But yeah, I have.
We're just thinking the marketing of that though, T.
Yeah.
Like you got to. I mean, because remember we had that conversation. Like if Sarah was available, do you pick Sarah or Paige number one?
Yeah.
You go Paige because of her marketability, and then if you add AZ to that mix, I mean Dallas. Come on now, like that's just not. I don't even think there's a question.
Right. TikTok would explode. Put it that way. Like because everyone is obsessed with Paisy and like it's a big deal. So I love it. I mean, I also love the idea of her going forth and going back home to DC for the Mystics. Like I love a homecoming kind of thing. So anywhere she lands, like I think she's proving she's a WNBA caliber talent. And this is the challenge he had for her when she returned. He's like, do you want to have your moment at UConn, or do you want to always have been sort of that support player and like not have your breakout season? And like, she's playing like an All-American right now. And if she keeps up at that pace, she will be an All-American.
No, I totally agree. All right, last thing before we give you a truncated version of the Hoops Cap, and you guys can all have a wonderful week and hope you had a great Thanksgiving. By the time this comes out, this will be after Thanksgiving. My question to you is, how awesome is it that Sarah Strong has signed a deal with the Jordan brand?
I think it's the best possible choice she could have made, like from a marketing perspective. It's Nike affiliated. UConn's a Nike school. There's like a history and a culture, obviously, around the Jordan brand that I think she personifies. And I love the way that everyone in that marketing ad, it was the Boozer twins, Kiyan, Anthony, Carmelo Anthony's son, and then Allison Feaster's daughter. Like every one of those people, it has a player who played an adult in their life, a parent who played professional basketball, which is just noteworthy. I think that's a really cool element that we're seeing now, is like the children of former basketball players like shining and being marketed as like, you grew up in this culture of basketball and now you like actually achieved that potential. So I think that was a cool perspective. And I just love the opportunities. Like you and I talked about how cool it would be if UConn had Jordan brand sneakers, outfits, like, you know, warm-ups. Like, I love the logo. I love the way it looks on Marquette women's basketball. I love the way it looks on UNC women's basketball. It's just it's a brand that everyone recognizes in basketball. And I think it's unique that she made that decision, and she's gonna make a whole lot of money.
Yeah. And she also joins a fellow UConn great as a Jordan brand ambassador in Ray Allen, one of the first ever to kind of go to that route. You know, once he aligned himself as an incredible NBA player, you know, it's just a cool kind of synergy where you have on the women's side too, kind of the next great at UConn, rocking the logo that everyone associates with greatness. You know, like Michael Jordan's been retired for how many years now, and his sneakers still sell at an incredible rate. When you see that logo, you think about greatness, and she personifies that. And I also think it's a really cool brand that, like, to your point, like it's not trying to do too much. It aligns perfectly with her sensibilities.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I think like sometimes, you know, like it doesn't matter. Like but you know, marketing brands matter. Like New Balance is trying to do something different in college basketball, Puma, different things like that. I just don't think that would fit with Sarah's background, with her, you know, her personal life in terms of like, you know, where she grew up with her parents and like all of that. So yeah, the Jordan brand it's kind of like for serious folks. You know what I mean? It's kind of like the, you know, what'd be a great example? It's kind of like for, you know, if you know, you don't want like a smaller brand. It's like, oh, that's cute. Like Jordan's like the basketball brand. So like, I love it.
Yeah. I mean, it's understated in a way because it speaks for itself. Like that's what's so cool about that brand. It's like, it's the Jordan brand. Like it doesn't have to do too much. Like their photo shoots aren't too flashy. It's just, you know, these are the players. Also, like you mentioned, like the certain type of player it attracts. Gabby Williams signed with Jordan brand a couple years back. Nafisa Collier, two of like the quiet assassins in UConn's history. So I think that's a good point. It's like the players who let the basketball speak for itself, and she is in that lineage for sure.
1,000%. All right, T, any words of wisdom for UConn fans as we close this up for kind of the upcoming season? And yeah, I think you said something to me pre-show about like UConn fans are like allergic to losing. So maybe give us a closing soliloquy on how we can learn that a loss isn't bad. So just to relax and enjoy the ride. Something in that lines, I guess, maybe.
I mean, I point to last season's loss against Tennessee that just completely fired up the team. They came out and just absolutely demolished South Carolina on their home court. They used that as fuel, and it fueled them to a national championship in dominant fashion. So I think whether it's a loss, whether it's a close win, like this is the time of the year against tough non-conference opponents, that win or lose, it's good experience. And ultimately, like, losing can be a good way to recalibrate, like we saw last year. So, I don't know. Like, I think if anyone was going to get him, it was Michigan. I think we're looking forward to like maybe Notre Dame, Tennessee, but yeah, it's possible they take an L, and that's okay.
You heard it.
Yep.
That's my women's college basketball expert, T. Baker. As always, Mark Zanetto. Have a happy Thanksgiving. I haven't decided whether this is going to come out pre-Thanksgiving or post, but either way, we wish you all the best, and we'll see you next time on the Hoop Scout.
Let's get it. Let's get it. Let's get it. Let's get it. Yeah. UConn, baby.